Hey, hi, hello friends. This is Alim Shah, and we were discussing the topic on ICH. So we will continue the same. And if someone missed my previous session, I would request them to go through that so that it would be easy to correlate. We'll begin to the topic now. Thank you. Yes, with the aim of harmonizing the regulatory bodies together in order to better, future for the pharmacovigilance and clinical trial activities. So this ICH, as we discussed earlier, which is formed in 1990, this is formed in Brussels, Belgium. So the first ICH formed in Belgium, and if you can see the symbol also, it will be very nice symbol. You can see like this, which is a unique symbol. You can see for ICH. It in a single logo, it will talk about I and C, and it look like a structure of H, as well as it gives some human picturizing, like a patient safety, confident. So like this symbol, you can see often in the regulatory guideline, or this is just an understanding. And some background about ICH again. In 1990, when they assembled this this harmonization body, at the time it is called as International Conference or Harmonization of Technical Requirements for Registration of Pharmaceutical for Human Use. Then in 2015, it is the secretariat is changed to Geneva, which is in Switzerland, and it became a council after that, that International Council for Harmonization of Technical Requirements for Pharmaceuticals for Human Use. So why I am specifying this pointer again, because if it is a new joiner, that is fine, but whenever we are going to write, or whenever we are going to give as an reference this ICH, we should be ensure and we should be cautious to talk about this, not about this. That's the reason I wanted to highlight this point. And as you know, this is a non profitable council which is being formed to provide to provide this harmonization. And if you can see the organizational structure, it's like ICH assembly, just the assembly where they have an ICH secretariat, and there are some management bodies, like for ICH management body and medra management committee. And yeah, this is about the organization, and this is some basic details about ICH. Okay, and as I have already mentioned about the countries from the international, when it was drilled down to hub market pharma, so only the US, EU, and Japan were the important countries or region who involved in harmonizing this ICH. And post that, there were nowadays, if you can go and see on the website also, there were so many regulatory member joined. Example like Canada, Switzerland, and also many other regulatory members from different countries like Brazil, Mexico, Singapore, Korea, UK, China, Saudi Arabia. You can see for China, in it is Chinese Taipei, and some Turkey. So like this, many regulatory countries, they started to participate in that ICH regulating uh, uh, guideline, or regulating harmonizing some of the guidelines in those activities. As well as many countries, still they are acting as a observer, like some of the African countries, like Azerbaijan, and even India also part of observer country. So the main regulatory bodies and regulatory members or observers, whatever their goal is, they understand the value of ICH, and they would like to participate in terms of some of the guidelines, some of the discussion, some of the committee, just they wanted to be a part of member. Hopefully in future there is a huge participation in this ICH. and they would like to involve more like a harmonization concept. Okay, now we will touch base on ICH guidelines, because in any organization when we go, there is a basic fundamental training they would be giving about these. Directly they will begin with ICH guidelines like quality, safety, and efficacy and multidisciplinary. But it is very important to know the basic fundamental, where it come from, why we are reading that, and what was the history of earlier guidelines, and so that we could able to correlate whenever we are going to have a discussion on this topic, whenever we are going to refer some SOP or work instruction in our activity. And the first guideline is, it is Q. It's a quality, safety, efficacy, and multidisciplinary. We will see some basic for general overview about these guidelines. If you see the quality, and the main focus here for quality guidelines, ICH provided quality guidelines, which is being controlled by you can say around 1 to 14 guidelines as per 2022. Hmm. So there are 14 guidelines they have released in order to ensure the quality aspects of any medicinal product, or even if you are manufacturing anything for testing purpose or whatever, any medicinal product is being manufactured, so it should abide the quality guidelines. It is mainly focusing on good manufacturing practices, and the risk management about the manufacturing practices. So this is main, it is very important. Example Q1, which guideline, as an example, this will focus on stability, and Q2, which is more focused on the validation part, analytical validation, and Q3 will talk about impurities, as well as Q4 will focus on pharmacopoeias. Pharmacopoeia, you might be knowing Indian pharmacopoeia, US pharmacopoeia, so on. So, and which Q5 will focus on some biotechnological products, how the good manufacturing product should be, and Q6, which will talk about some of the specifications. Again, it talks about some of the specifications. And Q7, that is always, it's our favorite, always whenever we talk, it talks about GMP. So this is some of this will give some overview of how the good manufacturing practices should be there. And like this, there were so many sub guidelines which will give continuation till Q14 guidelines, but everything they wanted to control on the quality aspect of the medicinal product. And second is regarding the safety. So here the safety aspects I would like to discuss few point here is like the safety aspects of the guideline. Again, it is controlled by it is released by 12 guidelines, and mostly the safety guidelines would like to uncover potential risk which is happening due to carcinogenicity, mutagenicity, and reprotoxicity, and genotoxicity. So it's a kind of they wanted to go beyond the limit kind of understanding. Is there any other untoward or unnoxious things are happening? So first they wanted to uncover that one, and mainly, and also they wanted to know more about non-clinical aspect and non-clinical safety of that particular product. So whenever the term is being used in PV, like if it is clinical, directly if they are going to talk about the term clinical, it means something happening on human beings, human volunteers, on patients, like so. And whenever they are using the term like non-clinical, it is like on animal studies or something on experimental, apart from human. So they are experimenting on some animals testing or so. Usually they use the term also preclinical. So these particular guidelines which focus on uh, mainly about some advanced condition of main toxicity related aspects this guideline is covering. And these are all the two are major, and these two are very important in the field of pharmacovigilance, um, which we will discuss a bit detail about these two. So just we have seen about the safety, and now this is talking about the efficacy part. So in efficacy, this is being controlled by around 20 guidelines. This is very important, as I said earlier. So it is controlled by around 20 guidelines, and the main focus on this efficacy is how the safety uh, aspects, a kind of safety reporting, I can say. The safety reporting part, it covers reporting in even in the clinical trials, as well as some of the novel products where derived from some biotechnology to target on particular disease, and it is made it as a medicine. So the main focus here is in efficacy guidelines. They are focusing, we would understand, we will interpret for now for some safety reporting aspects. These all these guideline is talking about. And as I said, it is there were around 20 guidelines which is talking about these efficacy guidelines. So the E1 guideline, which you know explains about long-term treatment. So whenever the drug used for long-term treatment, it provides long-term treatment. It provides some of the regulation, how the long-term treatment, how this need to be managed, how this need to be followed up, and all the disciplines of the medicine as well as the protocol um, about the particular medicine. And E2 is very important. So E2 again, it very important. So it is comparison of E2A to E2F. We will see a bit detail about it. And E3, which is talking about clinical study reports, and E4, E5, and E6. You might have aware that this is talking about good clinical practices. And same like this, it goes for E7 for focusing for geriatric patients, and E8 for general consideration for clinical trials. Like that, it goes till E20. E9 usually it focus on statistical aspects of you know um statistical aspects of the reporting and everything. And E20 is focusing on again the last one, like adaptive clinical trials. Like this, the E2 guideline provides so many disciplines about the guidelines, but the main focus whenever we go and whenever we talk as per this, for example, this is the one very important aspects to know about in detail. And some of the clinical trial department people, if they are going to work on some clinical study reports, and those team probably they will be focusing more about this guideline. And ICH GCP, good clinical practices. So why I'm pointing out again and again uh, about this particular topic is, like, whenever we go and attend any interviews or or any other discussion or any other training program, directly they will blindly they will use this the term ICGCP. And it is just one part of these many guidelines what we are discussing about. Because of this good clinical practices, this term they are giving some important, and they are just representing by this term as a whole overall aspects of the guideline, but this is just one piece of information, because none of the guidelines are created for for each guideline is created for some purpose. And finally the ultimate is in GCP. That's the reason they are keep offering this, using this term. Yeah, then we can see about this E2A, E2B, E2C, E2D, E2E, and E2F. So this E2F, we can go just for a change from the bottom, like E2F, which is focusing more about DSUR, development safety update report. DSUR, after clinical trials, it's a annual report which is being prepared, and it provides some guidelines like a boundary for each and every sections, what information should go in developmental safety update report. So it will focus on this. Here, pharmacovigilance planning. This is overall pharmacovigilance planning for any report or any activity which we need to perform. There should be a proper planning. So E2E will give more information about how we are going to perform that particular activity, what is our plan, what is our protocol. So this will talk about this information. And E2E is post approval safety data management, like it will talk about definition and standards for expedited reporting. Expedited reporting, this will give the definition and standards for expedited reporting, usually in the post approval safety data management. And E2C, so E2C is very favorite and everyone wanted to know more about it. Like E2C is now it is in R3, so R2, R3. So it will focus on E2C is focusing on PSURs, so periodic safety update report. Anyways, I have a separate planning for a separate video session for this, so we can talk more about it. Some basic understanding is E2C, when it came into picture in 1996, when this was developed, and immediately in again in revision 1 came into picture. So revision 1 came into picture in it is around in 2003. So the revision came into picture, and they were started doing the PSUR as a format, and they were doing around in 10 sections, and they were comprising all the informations. And post that with the similar note again in revision 2, sorry, here in revision 2, this came into picture November 2012, or in December 2012, that range it came into for implementation. And if you can see the in December 2012, there is a format, they need more benefit risk information. That's the reason there is a concept of format got changed into PBRER. So PBRER concept came into picture, and from December 2012 onwards, so this changed the format, and it become R2 guideline implementation. So that's how the E2C came into picture, and we are working on those. And E2B again, they're reporting E2B format, the electronic reporting of ICSRs. Earlier it was in revision 1, you can say, then revision 2, now it is in R3. My confused here I have written R3, apologies. So here E2B R3 concept came into picture. So this, whenever they released in 2001 here, that time itself they started wanted to have E3 format only. So E2 format just they parked, and immediately in 2003 the discussion started, and the consensus of a concept paper, everything got released, and they wanted to talk about more electronic format. And that's how it took but many years to become to release this consultation and to release. So in 2013 officially they released this particular E3, E2B R3 guideline. But again in 2018 and 2019 they released the implementation guide. So that's how the E2B R3 came into picture. Now we are performing that ICSR reporting role. Anyways, so this is also one of the main topic, and I would touch base whatever the basic information I am aware of, and I will collect and I will present this topic as well. Otherwise, I will request some expert to talk about on this particular topic. And E2A again, it is a common general topic which talks about clinical safety data management, which main focusing on definition and standards for expedited reporting. It will give about all the definitions, and what do you mean by adverse event and SAE, all the definitions which we'll talk about. So this entire discussion on efficacy is the take home message is it precises, it controls around 20 guidelines, and there were important topics like E2C and E2B and E2A as well. This is just a definition. So these are all some of the important topics, and anyways, I will take these messages to, well, I'm going to talk about a PSUR again. We will discuss more on that. Yeah, now multidisciplinary. So in this guideline, it is a cross-cutting topic. So when any guideline which is not getting fit in quality or safety or efficacy aspects, so all the topics is getting pushed here as a multidisciplinary topics. And these multidisciplinary under this umbrella, it is getting controlled by around 15 guidelines. And the famous one you might be aware, M1, M2, M3, like that we can keep going till M15. And M1, it talks about MEDRA aspects, medical dictionary for regulatory activities. And M2, which will talk about electronic standards. So whatever we are doing, what about their electronic standards, and which format each and everything to be get delivered, you know so those aspects it will focus. And M3, which will talk about some non-clinical aspects, non-clinical studies, how to be conducted, and those aspects it will follow. And M4, again, this is very important one, like CTD, common technical document. Like that, if you can keep going again, it will talk about ECTD, the same CTDD, how to be talk about in electronic gateway. It's a kind of reburst of technology, like to easy the work activity, because this will go in usually in paper or PDF, and everything is in electronic format to make a harmonized and easy way of accessing everything, which will talk about that. So these are all the aspects which will talk about the multidisciplinary till 15 guidelines. And anyways, we would be touching few of the topics in our upcoming session if time permits, like MEDRA is one of the important one, and we'll focus on here CTTD and ECTD. This one as a combined one, we can discuss some basic fundamental aspects here. So this how the safety, uh, the quality, safety, efficacy, and multidisciplinary guidelines came into picture, and some of the topic which we use in our day-to-day pharmacovigilance activities. So here we are going to talk about formal ICH procedure. So I have explained about all the ICH guidelines from Q to M I have gone through, and each and every guideline, if they wanted to implement and if they wanted to bring and to an harmonization forum, there were a couple of steps need to be followed. And it's a very huge activity, and it is not a simple activity, and even whoever works in compilation department, they would be very well aware, because getting information from single stakeholder or couple of stakeholder, incorporating those comments and make them understand and getting into a point is a bit challenging. Whereas in ICH, the number of secretary committee and members involved in it, and expert working groups and everything, so it's not very easy to get a get an approval, or to come to a common point. And it's a very huge and time taking activity. So whenever they wanted to change any concept, example we can say, as we do for E2C now currently in R2, and if again they wanted to go for R3, or already in electronic reporting already we have reached in R3, and if they wanted to go for another revision or so, it will take years and years sometimes. And first they wanted to in step 1, so they be always they follow the concept of step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 and step 5. This is the process what they follow. In step 1, they consensus building, like they wanted to have a very detailed discussion in their committee or in their internal meeting, and they wanted to talk about some more detail about it, the rationale behind and the challenges which they are going through, and everything they will be discussing. And they are if they are getting convinced, like in a consensus building a discussion on any technical document revision, so they were talking about some concept paper, they will release a concept paper, they do a presentation and everything. If this is being achieved, then the document or the discussion point would go into step 2. In step 2 again, there are sub steps are there, so I'm not giving for not to confuse everyone. In step 2a, if you can see, like ICS parties, again they will have a consensus on the draft guideline, whatever they have discussed the concept paper, based on that there is a draft guideline is being prepared, and they will discuss about this particular draft guideline. And again finally they will go for a in step B, again they will go for a adoption of this temporary adoption of this guideline, and they wanted to go further to step 3. In step 3 usually they will go for other local regulatory bodies consultation, and sometimes they go for some manufacturers, sometimes they will go for some industrial consultation as well. And some of the guidelines, if it is relevant, so it will go for some public consultation as well, public comments you can say. So in step 3 usually they will perform these kind of activities. Once everything is being incorporated and everything is being done, then in step 4, if the document reaches, means already this is in a adoption, it is being in a implementation, means the companies, or so if they reached in step 4, it means already they are using this particular regulation. So here it will go as a adoption of ICH harmonized guideline, so already they are in adoption. So here you can say adoption of this ICH guideline, harmonized guideline. And step 5 is again a kind of you can say implementation. And here the step 5 which is talking about, because as I said in ICH there n number of countries are there, and observer and everyone, the countries. And till step 4 if it reaches, we can ready to implement. And step 5 usually depends upon the particular country's implementation. Sometimes if it get step 4, they might be reaching in 2022, and they may implement this here in 2025 or 26, depends upon their internal country's requirement. But default they would have adapted this one. But as a country level directive and regulations, if they wanted to change it, they will take their own time. And that is the main difference between these two. It's a country level implementation. So whenever we are going to talk about this, any guideline you can open in ICH, and you can see step 4, in each and every guideline there are countries might be listing, and which country went to implementation stage. Step 5 they will be giving with the date, and so that is about the implementation regulation. So this how the formal ICH procedures goes for a implementation. So in this section, in this session, it's a bit long. I can see around 30 minutes, but these are all the basic fundamental points, and we can talk very longer. We can't get all these in a single half an hour or in a 1 hour slide. But if we can go through all these points, then if you read something, you could able to correlate. That's the motto of this session. And thank you. We will see in next session with a good topic. Thank you.